break, so I just wanted to give everyone an update. So we are certified now as a RESNA CEU provider, but as many of you know in this room, I am down 3 staff people. So I was just going to wait till we were done with all the trainings and send you guys out your letters. But if you need them before then for any of your certs, if you can just shoot me an email and I will prioritize getting those out to you. But I was just going to try and do them in one swoop rather than trying to do them after each training, and next year we'll do them immediately after each training. So if you need them for one of your certs and it's a matter of urgency, let me know and I'll make sure to at least get those to you. If not, if you can just be patient, I will try and get them out to you in September. So Diana's going to finish up her presentation and then we're going to have a discussion about requesting accommodations and sharing some ideas, and Diana actually also has some resources as well. And then Rob just joined us and he's going to be presenting here shortly as well, but we'll have another break before he starts his presentation. But again, if you need to get up, feel free to do so. And I think I am going to take center for Western Suggestion, and we're not doing the raffle to the end, so those that are here at the end have the opportunity to win the arm crutch, or the armless crutch.
Okay, so I did sign into my Adobe Scan so that I could demonstrate that for you, that particular app. So it's the icon on the bottom of my screen now that looks like the little blue square with the camera inside. And I am going to put my microphone down as soon as I open it to show you, because it's going to start automatically detecting, looking for a document. So I'm going to use my iPad to hover over the document here that's in front of me as soon as I open up the Adobe Scan app. And this one is free. On the screen, and I'm going to let it do it a couple of times so you can see where it says looking for document, and it is specifically detecting the text and trying to separate it from the photos. And it does do the OCR. You can clean up the document, you can do the auto color, etc. In the top right you can save PDF. In the settings, you can also turn off that automatic detect. So if you prefer to hover over the document and take the picture, or have the iPad in an iPad stand, I have several users who use the iClip. I'll show you a photo of that in just a moment, in higher ed and the workplace. And just in case any of you are interested, September 29th, coming up pretty quickly. Everyone in the room familiar with Therese Wilcom? Some of you? Yeah. Okay. So she is at the Institute on Disability, and certainly an AT maker. If you've gotten to attend one of her, maybe she already came and presented for you, for the light tech and makers movements and making assistive technology. So we're having a very large makers fair in New Hampshire at the end of September. Will there be a lot of people, including the main group, the international group for assistive technology makers, the AT makers. Individuals and groups will be there. Bill, if you're familiar with him and his YouTube videos. So a great opportunity. It's going to be an annual event, and we have people from all over the country attending, and that's going to be fun. So once you've taken a picture of the document, save the PDF. Again, it does the instant OCR, optical character recognition, so it is an accessible document. You can see that I've worked with some users, even for music. They need to have the music scan so that they can have that built-in high contrast that we used. They can have it larger and enlarged and in a stand so that while they're playing an instrument. Certainly documents for books, worksheets, handouts that we've pulled in. And as soon as you take a picture, that share button is there. Looks like a little icon with the square and the arrow pointing up, and you can email it certainly. So if you have any work documents, school documents that they take a picture of, Adobe Scan on their tablet, smartphone, take a picture of it. They can email it to themselves if that's the only way for them to get it onto their computer, laptop, device, but you can also share a copy in another app. So this is where I would pull it into Claro PDF Pro, which we worked with earlier. They could listen to it, type into it, speak into it, use word prediction. So if it's a document they need to have read out loud and or complete, they can pull it into an app as well. So very quick and easy, but you have an accessible document that you can use on any device by using the app. In the settings there, you can see under the preferences, run the text recognition as well as the language. Do you have any individuals who are still working on the concept of counting money? Or are they past that? A few of you? Okay, I see some nods. So there are certainly a couple of apps that, while they may still look a little juvenile, certainly still can be beneficial for some of our users. I like the dollars and cents one though, because while at the beginning it looks a little cartoonish, when you're counting coins, spending money, or making change, you can see that the coin still looks realistic like the actual one. Certainly we're using manipulatives in real money as well, but as far as reinforcing the concepts for matching, shopping, all of those good things. So a few options there for that particular skill and working on that skill as well. We're talking about some resources in regards to learning about assistive technologies. So we talked about today's workshop being an overview for many of you who may not be familiar with assistive technology, or hopefully some of our AT specialists in the room maybe picked up one or two things that you weren't familiar with before. Really great to have those AT specialists in your different regions and with your organizations. I travel all over, and that's a really great model. You don't see that everywhere. So, but for those of you who may want to further your knowledge on assistive technology, just to be aware of what's out there, CTD Institute, ctdinstitute.org. I'm one of the faculty trainers, as are many AT and EdTech professionals. So you can search the library for either webinars or online learning courses. There are some live ones coming up. And you can search for anything like executive function to higher ed, STEM, anything that you may be interested in for your particular clients. There we go, pull up the different categories there. Transition, advocacy, independent living, etc. It is federally funded. So you can watch any of the webinars or participate in any of the online courses live, or the archived ones if you find one that you want to go back and watch that's already in their library. It's free to you. You still earn continuing education credits, which is great towards any of your certs as well. So it's a great resource. It's a win-win, and there's many options there for being able to see some of the presentations or some of the live videos. And a lot of our webinars and online courses that we've done, my colleagues and I, they are step-by-step. So we certainly appreciate those workshops where we can come in, everyone's following along with the device, you dive in deep to a few tools that you really want to be able to use with clients and walk away proficient. We do some of that in our webinars. That way you can pause it, try it yourself, and go back to some of these tools. And I know that it's being recorded for you today to go back to as well, which is really great. So as I start taking down my tech, you're going to start a discussion about accommodations for your individuals, your clients, your learners. And this is a great resource from QUIET, the Quality Indicators for Assistive Technology. The Student Self-Evaluation Matrix. You can walk through with any of your learners who may be getting ready to leave high school, go on to college, or go on to the workplace environment, and how do they become self-advocates in order to really self-advocate for themselves, to ask for accommodations and all of the supports that they're going to need. So what this is, step by step, you can do the PDF or you can do the interactive system with them, and you notice that you can also create an account so that you can save the results for multiple students to be able to track them and to have them track themselves. So you can see the different categories here, the self-awareness, disclosure of disability. That's a really big one. Some of our individuals that we work with, oftentimes they have someone else advocating for them strongly, and it's necessary, but then they don't even realize how to ask themselves for themselves, and they don't often know what their disability is or how to describe that to someone. Certainly communication, self-evaluation, use of AT is in there, problem solving, and long AT planning. So it's a great tool for you to be able to use. It's free and online, or again, you can download that PDF version. In regards to the presentation or the apps, iOS or Google, any overall questions from anyone? Anything that you didn't see that you have a question about for a particular client or user, is there an app for that question or a tool? Anyone familiar with Rewordify? One more web resource. Rewordify. I think. I'm going to type it in now. You test me. So Rewordify is a free tool, just a web resource available on all devices, any device. If the text is complex in a document or online, difficult for them to understand and read, you can copy and paste it in Rewordify, and it will reword it. I'm going to enlarge this and just give you a second to read what the text was on the left and what Rewordify did to it on the right. Microphone, sorry.
I've worked with students with slight learning disabilities in advanced sort of English courses where they're reading, Macbeth or,
Yes.
really difficult things to read.
There's
You can put that in there and it'll just translate it right into
That's correct.
simple sort of
Yes.
speech.
So it
That's
is
awesome.
simplifying it.
Mhm.
And there are, certainly are individuals who are just going to get to a document where the text is just too complex for them to understand, or a book or a resource or online website. So it's nice to be able to use this particular tool. And there are some examples of how some educators, at the end of this website, they give you examples of how they've used it as well. So that's a great resource to be able to use. And if you do still have learners who are doing research or reading and need leveled text, there's readworks.org. Pulling up here. And then also Newsela or Newsela. Both of those resources will allow you to search either books for research or articles related to things that are in the news, current events, but you can choose a different reading level. So if they want to study about a particular topic, but they want to read that information on the website at a 4th grade reading level or a 2nd grade reading level, you can search based on topic and then based on reading level. For those in the younger K through 12 environment, they also choose the Lexile level. So if you happen to know that, but you can choose grade level as well. So, and both of them can be read out loud with any of the free extensions that I showed you. Readworks.org actually has a built-in text-to-speech tool with most of their articles and their books also. So I will let you begin the discussion of accommodations.
Hello. Okay. So this somewhat came up at our last training, and it's been coming up in my meetings with DPI and DVR about that in public school setting, especially, that it's generally just provided for students. So then when they get to the workforce, they don't realize we're not allowed to ask those types of questions as employers, and that they need to make requests for those accommodations. And since we have a mix of people in the room, what I was hoping is if you guys would be willing to share either through your curriculums or your support groups, or how are you guys helping kind of youth with this transition to either advocate for their needs in the workplace or through DVR, or getting them in the door with DVR, because I know there's sometimes some hesitation there. So kind of what everyone's role has been, and since we have more than just independent living centers here as well, others that have experience too, or techniques that they're using that are working. I just thought this would be a good opportunity for us to kind of share what each of our different groups has to offer in relation to this, because no one person can do everything, and so it might be a good place to kind of share some of those ideas or brainstorm some things that have been effective. So is anyone willing to share?
Well, maybe to get us jump-started, Lisa, I'll share.
Okay, there you go.
In DHS, we have 4th-year nursing students, and I had a student nurse that graduated, and she was a straight A student and had come from a rural K through 12 environment, and she had to take her nursing boards 3 times. And the second time we asked, were you ever diagnosed with a learning disability? So we got her on campus over at UW's McBurney Institute, and she was able to self-advocate for an accommodation for her test taking.
Hi, I'm an employment specialist, and I work with a lot of transition age youth as they're moving from high school in a really supportive setting to rural employment, which is not always a supportive setting, but can be. And something that I'm finding is a lot of students don't know how to tell people about their disability if they have one. Maybe they've been in families where the parents haven't said anything, and they've never known how to talk about that disability and how to talk about the needs that they have. And so something that I've been doing with the young people that I work with is I develop an I, we, you checklist of responsibilities when we're talking about work. So what does I, the student, what do we, the team, and what do you, the employer, have responsibilities for? And so that helps the young people I work with to distinguish, is asking for more time to complete a task. Is that something that the employer does? Is that something that the worker does? Or is that something that the team does? And so that's been pretty helpful.
So this doesn't just apply to students, but all the consumers of many ages that I deal with. But when somebody comes to me with an AT-related issue, I always make sure if they're asking about employment to talk about consumer rights and asking for a reasonable accommodation and making sure they know what they can or can restrict in terms of sharing their information, what's advisable, what's their rights, what I would do in this situation as a peer because I have a mental health disability and I've asked for reasonable accommodations so I can share personal life experience. And peer support is kind of a staple of the independent living mantra, so that's kind of how I approach it.
Anyone else willing to share? Do we have, I'm just curious within the network, because I know we've all been around for a while, and some of these documents unfortunately disappear when people disappear, but something in any of our curriculums that guides people as to how to ask, or do you negotiate that as part of the interview, or once they're employed, how they ask for those types of, so questions they should be asking, so going a little further than what was shared of the I, we, this, but how, because I know like at DHS we will do it, but we have a form, so it helps the person kind of think through, like it walks them through what they need to be answering. Not every employer has that. Do we have something like that that we're able to share with consumers?
A lot of the independent living centers teach self-advocacy, and one of the major parts of that curriculum is talking about when to self-disclose, what to say, who to talk to, and a lot of times that works in tandem with another curriculum, Skills to Pay the Bills, where we do talk about you need to request an accommodation, here's how to go about it, and how much you should or shouldn't say when you're talking to an employer. And with our center, we actually kind of do it as an exercise too. We've had a couple students ask us what to do, and we've walked them through the process, and they've ended up getting what they needed.
And I guess my question, Tyler, as a follow-up is I know DVR, or many people at DVR are familiar with that curriculum, but how familiar is DPI? Because I'm wondering if maybe we can do a sharing session with key people over there because they seem to be struggling with this as well. I mean, how much work is that connection happening? I know we work a lot with DVR on some of this and we get paid to do that curriculum at times, but I'm wondering if that's maybe where part of the disconnect is happening.
I'm thinking it might be. I don't know how much DPI works with them or how much they know about that. And from what I'm hearing from other people who aren't associated with the centers here, I'm just guessing because I don't know, but it sounds like they're not even aware of these curricula or these programs.
That's my concern. I'm thinking it's kind of like WizTech. It's the best kept secret, and we don't get people till they're really angry with bad AT services provided by someone else, right?
So just as a resource for, I don't know if this is turned on.
It's like Andrew's loud, but he...
Okay. Just as a resource, the first place I'd go in terms of looking for accommodation ideas, but also sample requests for accommodations, is the JAN network, or Job Accommodations Network. There's a lot of useful information there. So you can search not only by job, but also by disability, and say these are common things requested for as reasonable accommodations. Also the EEOC, which is a government website, talks about discrimination claims, also requests for accommodations.
Sorry, I'll stop raising my hand after this. I know the DVR website has a youth disability disclosure workbook that's about 110 pages. It's no longer in print, but what you can do is click Control F and find valuable things related to that content just by surfing your browser. And I've printed off a couple of pages to use with some of my consumers, and they've really liked that. It really reminds them of school, so it's kind of fun to send them home with homework.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add related to this topic? I think it's been helpful. We'll make sure to share the resources, the websites that you just mentioned, Andrew. I think this is worth maybe us having a little bit of a meeting with DPI, that's something that centers could provide. We already do some AT assessments for them, so it'd be good to know that we can help with more than just that, and how we can increase that collaboration between the two departments. I think that would be a good thing moving forward, because they're also contacting us for like ADA type questions now and assessments, so maybe it's worth just bringing us in and saying, here's everything we can assist with, because it may also lead to some more funding for the ADA and AT work that we are already doing. They may not know you guys are available as a contractor and the whole spectrum of what you're available to do. So.
And in addition to the youth and transition services that schools provide, they also have a strong curriculum in health education, as well as family and consumer education. So with a few of our other initiatives, we've always been asked, like, how do I approach my school and have this conversation? If you understand what the current curriculum structures look like, you can make recommendations for how to embed this so that all students come out with a little bit of knowledge.
And where you had mentioned Jan, you're probably already familiar with PEAT, P-E-A-T. So the Partnership on Employment and Accessible Technology. I just pulled it up because I didn't want to get the acronym incorrect, but they have a lot of great resources on their website also.
Anything else to add? So we definitely have a lot of resources I can send out now to share when people get in those stumbling blocks. I will try, I think after we get through the September training, that would be a good thing to start maybe in the new fiscal year with DPI. They did just have a big turnover too of AT and special ed staff, so I don't know how much they know. So this is very helpful. Any last words? If not, we'll give you guys a brief break and give Rob a few minutes to get set up here, and then we'll get started in about 15 minutes if that works for everyone. And can we thank Diana for her presentation as well today?